Yo, what is up, guys? Del Boy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So, Lawrence Okolie, one of the more maligned figures in British boxing right now, mainly due to his fighting style, some of his past fights, etc. A lot of people haven't really given Lawrence Okolie the time of day. A lot of people have written him off from basically the start, and I have to say, I completely disagree with this narrative. I believe, certainly out of the Rio 2016 Olympians in the UK, Lawrence Okolie has so far achieved the most out of that current crop of Olympian fighters. To me, Lawrence Okolie has shown the most ambition and has gone the furthest in his career. Of course, Lawrence Okolie, in only 15 fights, despite not really having an extensive amateur background, has already been a Commonwealth champion at cruiserweight, a British champion, and a European champion, and obviously he's on the verge of fighting for a world title. His career has gone extremely well in terms of step-up fights, and he's showing ambition. You know, to fight someone like Mathiaskin in your, 11th fight is a big risk. To fight Yvan Garbu in your 14th fight is a big risk. And again, consider the fact that this guy never really had a great amateur pedigree. So the ambition for me from Lawrence Okolie has been very impressive. Now, granted, in a few of these fights, he's looked very ungainly. He resorted to a lot of fouling in a few fights, and arguably in the Mathiaskin fight, he should have been disqualified. But regardless of that, I really like the ambition that this guy is showing. And I've always felt that if this guy had a trainer who could really utilise those physical advantages, get him fighting behind the jab, understand distance a bit better, and keep guys on the end of those powerful punches, I've always felt that Lawrence Okolie would be a real handful in the cruiserweight division. And on top of that, he's obviously got that physicality to really back up on. He's an extremely strong guy. I've never seen Lawrence Okolie get outstrengthed in the ring. He's always the stronger guy. He carries real punching power in that right hand. And I believe he's always had all of the ingredients to be a real threat at cruiserweight. I fully expect Lawrence Okolie to be a world champion in the cruiserweight division. I believe his link-up with Shane McGuigan is already showing signs of improvements in Lawrence Okolie's game. Obviously, this past weekend on the Anthony Joshua versus Kubrat Pulev undercard, Lawrence Okolie was fighting a late replacement called Nikodem Jazuvsky, and he destroyed Jazuvsky in that fight. And I saw signs of improvements. He was measuring the distance a lot better. He was taking half steps back to measure the distance and, to create space for that right hand. And he was picking some really good shots. His distance control against Nikodem Jazuvsky looked so much better than I've seen in previous fights. And there were signs of that also in his first fight with Shane McGuigan against Yves Garbu. Yeah, there was still that physical side to Okolie in that fight. But, I saw signs of improvements in that fight. And I saw a lot of signs of improvements against Jazuvsky. Bear in mind, Jazuvsky, not the greatest fighter in the world. Short notice, it was what it was. But I liked what I saw from Lawrence Okolie. Since he's gone to Shane McGuigan, I've noticed some improvements. And I believe this guy is going to be a real threat real soon. 6'5", carries genuine punching power with that right hand. Extremely physically strong. And if he can get you behind that jab, he is going to be an absolute nightmare. I believe there's a real good fighter in Lawrence Okolie at cruiserweight. I really do. And I think Shane McGuigan right now is the best guy to really kind of hone that fighter in Lawrence Okolie. And I think he's made a wise choice with his trainer. And I have to say, going forwards, Lawrence Okolie, I'm presuming he's going to fight Krzysztof Glowacki next for the WBO cruiserweight title. I believe he beats Glowacki. Glowacki's a good fighter, but, given the improvements I've seen from Lawrence Okolie in the last couple of fights, given the fact that he's really kind of starting to find himself in the pro game, I believe he will beat Krzysztof Glowacki. Glowacki's a good fighter, like I said, but I think he's now seen better days. Still a good fighter, but I expect Lawrence Okolie to beat Krzysztof Glowacki. And do you know what? If you're going to ask me to pick Lawrence Okolie against someone like a Lunga Makabu, I think I would pick Lawrence Okolie, believe it or not. I believe right now, or in the very near future, Lawrence Okolie is going to beat a lot of these guys at cruiserweight who are in the world-class level. The only guy who I wouldn't put Okolie in with right now is Maris Briedis. But basically everybody else at cruiserweight, I think Lawrence Okolie's got a great chance. I fully expect this guy to be a world champion at cruiserweight. I'm certain of that fact. He's going to be the first guy from the Rio 2016 squad to be a world champion. A lot of people were talking about Joshua Buatsi, Anthony Fowler, Joe Cordina, but despite the ridicule, despite the criticism, it's Lawrence Okolie who's on the verge of fighting for a title, and I think that speaks volumes. And bear in mind, Lawrence Okolie's fought the hardest competition out of all of these guys, you know? Well, bar Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce also is on the same level as Okolie right now, but I'm talking about the matchroom guys, you know, the Anthony Fowlers, the Joe Cordinas, the Josh Buatsis. It's Lawrence Okolie who is head and shoulders above those guys right now. And yeah, I fully expect this guy to be a world champion. I see the improvements, I see the potential, and I see a real hard guy to beat at cruiserweight. Sometimes it may not always be pretty, but by God, is this guy going to be hard to beat. I've been critical of a couple of Lawrence Okolie performances in the past, namely the Matiaskin fight, as a lot of people have. But I've always said there's a real good fighter in Lawrence Okolie, and I believe we're now seeing that under Shane McGuigan. I'm looking forward to seeing Lawrence Okolie fight Krzysztof Glowacki. I think that's a great fight for him at this stage. It's a great test. Not an easy fight, don't get me wrong. Glowacki, very experienced, southpaw, he's crafty, he can punch a bit. He's a very good fighter, and it is a dangerous fight. But I would favour Lawrence Okolie to win that fight right now. I really would. I've been impressed with the attitude of Lawrence Okolie. He seems to take the game seriously. He's always in shape. He's got the right people around him now. He's been matched well. He's had hard fights, you know, on paper at least. And yeah, I believe Lawrence Okolie right now, dare I say it, might be one of the most underrated fighters in the UK. I think Lawrence Okolie is my Hughie Fury. I see a lot of people bigging up Hughie Fury, and I completely disagree, you know. I know my boy UCTV likes a bit of Hughie Fury. I can't get on board with that. But, you know, a lot of people disagree with me on Lawrence Okolie, but listen, that guy's going to be a world champion, and I wouldn't be shocked if this guy becomes a unified champion at cruiserweight. And, you know, beyond that, who knows, maybe he could do something heavyweight. I'm not sure about heavyweight, to be honest, but certainly at cruiserweight, the guy's going to be an absolute menace, trust me. But, yeah, it's been your guy Delboy. Share your thoughts below. What do you make of Lawrence Okolie? Have you seen any improvements since he switched to Shane McGuigan? Do you believe he can beat some of the top cruiserweights in the world? Share your thoughts below. I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts. Peace.